earbud mic thing, so we don't get this lovely echo back that
Ah,
that happened. That way I can hear you at full volume. Yeah, that thing. So, uh, gonna plug this in. Hang on a second, Don.
no
Close,
worries.
close up the.
The car.
Hang
Oh,
on,
you're
in.
plugging your business right there. I see what this is about. Yum 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 yum.
All right. Yeah, really.
This tastes spicy like ears.
What?
Let's just say don't suck on Q-tips after using them. I imagine earbuds. Yeah, earbuds are probably about the same flavor.
Yeah, really. Well, you get this
So,
whole feedback thing
this
happening, so this way I don't.
okay. So this might be the first Haps cast that I've done where it's just jip 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 jip. Although the other night Chris W helped me out with checking some of my mic gear in real time, giving me feedback on whether or not whether or not that was getting feedback. And then he and I had a chit chat about sci-fi. That old boy hasn't seen Firefly.
What?
Yeah, hasn't seen Fire. He knows about it. He just hasn't gotten around to it. But
He
with
knows
my
about it.
talking with him and
Doesn't
explaining it
count.
a little bit, he said, I'm going to have to see that. So, outside of that, you and I have talked a little bit about this, and this may be being my first, as said, just chit chat thing here.
Cool.
I wanted to do this topic yesterday, didn't have time. I am, as you know, I'm saying this again for the now 40 people watching because who knows, I could get my HAPS hashtag challenge taken care of today,
I hope
not
so.
with playing my fingers off, right? Anyway, I'm considering starting a Patreon profile as a creative, and my
Right.
idea is giving people access to the recipes that I'm working on for my upcoming books.
Right.
So I'm kind of double dipping on my recipes by getting money for it from Patreon and then selling the same recipe again as a book, um, which really follows the like Shakespearean time period model of the patrons that supported artists, which is a beautiful thing if anybody was rich enough for that anymore. But anyway, I'm trying to get an idea of the Patreon playing field with what I'm thinking to offer, long
Right.
and short. So I'm looking for people's experience between folks like yourself that have been on Patreon, still on Patreon, as far as I know,
Kinda. Yeah.
folks that are on Patreon as patrons, and folks like myself that go, I have questions.
Right. Right.
So
Um.
there's the whole ballpark.
Well, my goal is to leave Patreon. So,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. It's not working for us.
right,
It's just not working for us. We've done a number of different approaches, but the problem is the kind of things we build and the kind of things we do. Um, the kind of things we do are very much specific. Right? You want a lightsaber. I can't say to someone, at the $500 level, you'll
right.
get a lightsaber every month. And it just we did a little we did badges and boxes and stuff like that for the longest time, and that did okay. And then Patreon changed their rules and the way they handle things, and then a lot of people we know got off it. Um, for what we're doing, we can't justify it. A lot of I know a lot of people on there who are doing a lot of cosplay type stuff, and they're basically doing courses and they're doing Zoom meetings. So basically, you give them X number of dollars a month, and once a month they guarantee, but they've got 9 to 5 jobs. This is their sideline, so they can say, I'm going to be on at this day and this time. And that's the hardest thing about still being in this industry is this is the day and time you're supposed to be on, and suddenly you get a gig and you're gone for 24 hours and it's right there and you can't do it.
Right.
You can't sit in the background holding and say to when you get that call to go to set, you can't go, hang on, I'm on my Zoom with my Patreons. No, it's not going to work. So
Yeah, next.
it's become a very difficult thing for us because there's really
Sure.
There's nothing really extremely physical, which is why, yeah, I'm hoping the HAPS will work for us, because if we can get X number of, like, people like learning, and there's so much DIY on on every single social media, and it doesn't cost anyone anything. The trick is, can you buy from my store after I teach you how to do this? Which is why when you had asked me about Patreon before, I recommended that. Hang on a second. Yes, all of them. Yeah, I don't remember which tray they came out of. Thank you, honey. Um, I mean, one of the things I said to use is you could always, once a month, offer basically a class. You know, set time, set day, and do Zoom. And do it at the end of the month so people have a chance to get on Patreon and contribute to that level. And you're leaving it up there afterwards, like you can share it afterwards. Just make sure it's only shared to those levels, right? Don't share to your whole Patreon, or there's no point in them spending money on that level. But you can get away with it. Um,
How many
you can't
levels can you set?
as many as you want, but it's not usually recommended to go past 4.
Oh, okay, that's good information right there.
Um, we went crazy at one point. This was years ago, before we realized what we were doing.
Uh,
um, but yeah, we had something like 8 levels, and the other ones are just bumped. You have to scroll to see them. So I think they've changed the layout. So now it's 3 across. It used to be 4 across. But the trick is, don't give them more that they have to scroll. And since your first level is always a tip level, in other words, people who really don't give a damn, they just want to love you. Um,
okay,
it's usually about $3, because once they take their cut, it usually winds up being about $1.50. And some people call it the buy me a coffee level. Some people call it the tip jar. Tip jar is a common term. Some people call it the love me level. Some people call it the family level. In other words, you don't want to see me ever again, but you'll give me a couple bucks. And that's usually the level where you throw something up every once in a while that is free. You throw things up on your updates. It's just, you can always download these. You can download the HAPS videos
right.
and put them up there as freebies, or the lowest level. Some people will do things like once a year, every Christmas, if you're on the $3 level, they'll send you a Christmas card. They'll add you to the Christmas card list type thing.
Does it have a check
Some
in it?
Exactly. Um, so you would say to someone, here, tip me $3, and every Christmas I'm going to ask you for your address. If you're willing to give me your mailing address, I'm going to send you a Christmas card. Say
All
thank
right.
you for being a big tipper. But that level, no one expects anything at that level, and that's always your first level. I know some people who have made a fortune off of just that level, and they'll do little
Yeah, well, I
ads.
mean, at $3, if you had 2,000 people, I mean, there's $6,000 a month,
Hmm.
right?
But
And
again,
in truth, you're still. I mean, in my case, if that was say the free recipe of the month that I give out, plus one of the ones from my books, right? I'm already doing those 2 recipes. It doesn't matter if that I do the same work, whether that goes to one person or if that goes to 2,000 people.
well, that $3 level, it usually isn't anything. Like I said, it's usually just like once a year you get a hold of those people and say, I'm going to send you a Christmas card. So you spend a whole
Wow.
whopping $3, and you've made a few thousand off of them.
Okay.
Um, but every once in a while, it's a good idea to throw something out there for free. So when people go to your Patreon, they got a sample. So you can always do, your highest level is 1 hour personal time,
Hmm. Okay.
with someone. Like, this is the recipe I released this month. At the end of the month, because you've done this most expensive, like make it like $30 or something like that. I'm going to give you 1 hour of my time, because that's about how long it takes to make this recipe. And we're going to have a Zoom meeting, so I'll send you a Zoom link. We'll discuss what time is best for you, and you have a one-on-one 1 hour for $30. So they'll get the recipe just like the levels below them,
Right.
but they're paying the extra money. So if you have like $10 for the recipe, and then $20 for the recipe in the book. Like, so you wait until you've got 12 months worth of recipes, and then you say, now, do you want it in hard copy? They'll probably
Right.
either say yes or no, right? But you
Right.
wait. You give them digital first. For
Right.
say 6 months or whatever you think it's worth, and then they'll actually get the hard copy of the book.
Right.
You know,
And see, one of the other things that everybody else currently doesn't get, where I do a recipe of the month, I put that up on my woodbeeislandbaking.com website. And where I promote that when it does publish has been Twitter, only because when I do it up on, when I put it on Facebook, I get a response like I'm a golfer. It's just nothing.
well,
Right. I mean,
you have to be careful where you put these things though, because if you're going to say to someone, you're putting in this many dollars a month, and it's free somewhere else, now you got a problem.
right, right. Well, and see, there's the thing where I do a free recipe of the month. That's my come on right now for everything, right? And I mean, I do anything from cookies to soups to whatever, right? So I already do that, but I get the most response on Twitter. So I sometimes don't even post on Facebook, hey, the new recipe of the month has published for like 5 days. But Twitter, day one, I tag, I think it's about 100 people that I have on a list at this point, and I get a lot of response there. I've also posted on Twitter saying I might be starting this Patreon account. Is anybody interested? And I got some response there too. It
Mm-hmm.
suggested to me that the Patreon thing could be the right direction. Now, my recipes of the month, they're up for that 28 to 31 days, and then it's gone. So it's scarcity, right?
Yeah,
You
but
need to get it out.
it's
You need to
it
get it now, or you can't get it later. And then there's
right.
next month's. But one of the things that I figured to offer via Patreon as like that tip level is everybody would have access to all of my past recipes of the month. So if you didn't get it, well, you can do it here. Hello, Nade. Um, and I still I'm playing around with these different ideas between
Well,
having
don't.
all of this.
The
Hmm?
hardest thing about doing this is don't overthink it,
Oh,
because you're
I'm the wrong
gonna.
person.
I know. Trust me. Number of times I've had to remind myself of the same thing. Um, but the key thing is, you spend all that time, you're gonna talk yourself out of it. Just get it up there with the basics. And key thing is, make sure nothing, whatever you put up there under a price point, don't have anywhere else,
Okay.
because people are gonna say, I got that already. I shot, or I'll wait for it. I'll wait for it to come around again. If you're
Right.
putting things out there for any kind of free, and you're also putting them up for paid, it doesn't matter if it's a month off or not. If someone wants to wait, they'll wait, and you've lost your
Right.
patrons,
Right.
right? So
Real
you
quick. So,
basically you isolate, you get it up there, and then and then you wait. You promote it to hell and back, and you see who responds to what.
right. Right. Real quick. So, Sean, who's tuning in via YouTube, what we're talking about is being a Patreon seller. And you'll be able to make comments just the same as you did with "Hi, what are you talking about?" I'm actually broadcasting from HAPS, so I'm able to bring some people into the chat, as with my friend Christina here. Um, uh, if you want to come over to HAPS, if you know something on this topic, either as a buyer, seller, or someone like myself that's looking to start an account and has questions, more or less, it's kind of a let's contribute to a boot camp sort of thing with regard to Patreon. So we're talking about Patreon. So anyway,
Because
and
this is why this is why we set the amount here for patrons, and what we're going to do is give patrons special things. So here on HAPS, it makes more sense for us to basically just do special things,
okay,
that the patron will the patron will the sponsor, HAPS uses the word sponsor, the sponsor will get. So for example, Valentine's Day, this year, what we're going to do is, everyone's got till the 12th. If we get 5 more sponsors at $5 each, we're going to do a Lord of the Rings Valentine's Day.
yeah, I'm
And
like probably finally going to sponsor you. It's not
oh my
it's
God, we're
not
gonna have
that
so
I
much
haven't
fun.
wanted to. I just have plenty of other things that I'm like busy with. And so he's like, oh yeah, figure out how to sponsor people on HAPS and sponsor Christina and Martin because I kind of love them. So
Aw, thank you.
aw.
Um, But we're going to write people into the story. So we're going to do like a Lord of the
Oh, cool.
Rings based story. And if you're a sponsor for
You need a
$5 and over,
bagpiper.
hey, you get to pick what race you're going to be.
Elven bagpiper.
No, I somehow, no, I don't. Martin says he wants a romance with the trolls. He wants orc. Sorry, he wants an orc romance. So someone has got to do the $5 and be an orc and in love with like the most inane, stupidest thing.
Okay. I don't know. Being in love with bagpipes could be considered an inane, stupid thing.
And orc in love with the bagpipes. An orc having a love affair with bagpipes.
I don't know. Given my physical stature, maybe. Well, no. I had long hair when the films were coming out. I was perfect as being an extra, but they didn't return my email. But and I'm tall, and well, maybe not so much now in my later 40s, but
See,
fairly lithe. So
for us, it makes more sense to do it this way because then we can set things each time we do something. So we can pick a date. We don't have to set a particular date every month. We can
right,
pick dates for special things and then make the sponsor part of that special thing. But everyone gets to see it. So if everyone's enjoying it and they give the clap award or the super hard award or the talented award, that's great. We're going to get the extra 50 cents from them or the extra 25 cents or the extra dollar or whatever it is, the extra $5, $10. Um, but they won't be in that story. They won't be part of it. They'll just be enjoying it. So they can either sit there and enjoy it for free or they can be inspired and give us what they can.
right,
Um, so that's what we're hoping will work. And what we want to do is we want to do regular things for sponsors where they're included in one way, shape, or form. And the key thing with sponsors for us, and we've been saying this since day one, and this is part of the reason why we set 5 people at $5, because if we get 5 more sponsors at $5, this will bump it up to that $40. And what we've already said to all our sponsors is at the $40, you start getting discounts.
all
So if you're
right,
giving us
sure,
$40 a month and you want us to build something for you, or you see something on the store, like we'll let you know what's going up on the store first, you get first dibs.
right, and see with the books. I mean, for one of the things that I've thought about since getting that aha that I was given by another friend of here's maybe how to do Patreon, was that, and this is already making me rethink. Don't I mean, go ahead and put up the free recipe of the month on Patreon, but since it's available somewhere else, as you were saying, for free, and they could just wait for it, right? I mean, it really doesn't matter if I give them access a month later or earlier, excuse me. It's that if I'm giving them access to a recipe for a book prior to it publishing, which could be roughly 12 months away, then that's actually the thing that's worth some money right there.
Well,
Um,
you can also do Patreon only recipes.
oh yeah,
Like I mean, you can always go through any online recipe and try it.
right,
And the Patreons are the only ones that get it. So
right,
you
and
say to Patreon that you're going to record a video of you trying a recipe from an online source, and you set up your camera and you record it. And at this level, they get to see that video. So you upload the video to your Patreon.
right,
And that's something that you don't have to put anywhere else because you recorded the video, you didn't put it live to air.
right, right, right.
So you
Okay,
can always say, listen, I got this recipe. This is, it was a 5 out of 5 on this all recipes page, or this was a 1 out of 5, and I wanted to figure out, everyone was saying how much this recipe sucks. I wanted to figure it out. And you
and make it
actually
better.
make someone else's recipe and say,
Right,
this is where it failed for me. I can see what they were saying, so this is what I did.
right, right.
And you can
And
have half your meals made and making money off of it.
Right. And see where, with everything that I have going on, while I like doing these free recipes of the month to get people's attention toward the books that I sell, right? It ends up being one of those things because I'm not directly seeing money off it, it becomes that lower priority every month. And enough times I may have the recipe worked out, but I'm typing this thing up at like 11:55 on the 31st and it's going live in 6 minutes, and it's because it's not important. It's it's not that it's not important to me. I shouldn't say that. It's important to me. It's just not profitable to me. And at my tax bracket, I really have to prioritize. However, if I was able to see some growth with Patreon, then certainly, let alone at that point, I have the responsibility to it. I would look at it and say, okay, today is the first. I need to get recipes ready for the first next month, and those would be front loaded in the month. And at that point, when I know, even if I'm making $10 off of it next month, right, then it makes sense to me.
Yeah, and Patreon too, the nice thing I like about it is you can pre-design all your stuff and then schedule it. So you could
Right,
literally whip up 5 or 6 things at once, spend a whole day just getting the next 3 months set down
right,
and schedule everything. So this will go on this day and this will go. So you're not running, you're not driving yourself crazy the night before. You've got everything set up ahead of time and it just automatically loads up on that date.
right. And see, that's where right now too, I'm looking at it going, okay, this is a good time to get this together,
Well,
because
you can also,
heck, on my free recipes of the month, I already have next month's uploaded and ready to go live. I have 2 books that I'm working to publish this year, and I already have at least half of the recipes done. Potentially, I have enough recipes at least through the end of this year, almost even to say to go all the way next year, where I could
well,
go ahead and do those and pre-scheduled. And some of where that also makes sense is at some point with the scuba diving work. That's my main financial gig annually at the moment. Heck, I'm gone for 2 months, or well, every other week during 2 months, and the weeks that I'm back, I am exhausted. There's no way I mean, I can make a recipe, but to give the focus that I need for the typing, I don't have it. So part of it is right now is a really hot strike the iron time for me.
well, and you see, you can, if you pre-plan all, like, I mean, just, I recommend one of those tiers literally be, this is what I tried this recipe that has this low rating on this page,
Right,
and it didn't work, and this is why. So I actually cooked it. It's easy to record. You can do it at any time you want. So you can even do it first thing in the morning if you want. You can. It doesn't matter because you're not going live with it. You're offering it to a level. And then in order to
right,
promote here on HAPS your Patreon, because when you think about it, they complement and go against each other. You don't want to give anything away here because people are paying a set amount on Patreon. So
right.
what I would recommend is you hash through recipes with other Hapsters. So
Oh,
basically, you would say to me,
so
you would say to Martin and I, this is the recipe in my book that I sent you. I want you to make it gluten free. And we will do this live. So you'll do the research ahead of time for us to see what we would
right,
have to do in order to make it gluten free. Like, does the rice need extra oil? Does it, what kind of flour is the best?
right.
And we go out and we get the ingredients based on your advice. And we make
See
your
the
recipe live on HAPS with
the
you
beauty of
as a guest.
right
So you would be on all these other people's profiles. So you'd be basically linking
cross
to
breeding.
yeah. And you
Right.
say to each of us, like you say, listen, if you want to use Martin and I as the first people, and then yeah, we do a recipe from your book, and you sit there live with us and say, no, 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 don't do that. That's the wrong thing to do. Don't do that. This is what you're going to do because your voice will be right there.
Right.
And we'll be like, okay. And then we'll literally make it with you guiding us using your recipe. And then you can say to people, listen, I'd love to do this with you as well. I hear you're an incompetent cook. Let's do this one. Whatever. And show that connection, that willingness, how proud you are of your recipes and how real it is. And then when people go, oh my God, how do I get more of this? Or how do I get the recipes direct? Well, I've started up this Patreon. There you go. Now you're encouraging people to go over and try your recipes on their own. And the best way they can do it is to get digital copies every month by being on your Patreon. Yeah, your signal's kind of coming and going.
Kind of back. I can hear Christina. I can see Christina.
Yeah, I'm here.
I stood up and moved to where
Don't do that.
I'm at.
Yeah, your audio is breaking up quite a bit. Oh, wow.
Catch the signal from downstairs a little. Bar. Okay, I think I'm kind of back.
The very first thing I hear when you come back is nut bar. You want us to make nut bars? We'll make nut bars.
Well, no, I'm trying to behave my language.
Oh, I figured that. But yeah, so like I mean,
But I'm also going to see if I can kind of do a sprint downstairs, which will kind of put me closer to the route and hopefully not
you're breaking up again.
lose too much signal. Oh, can't see. Let's see. Okay, this should put me closer to the router.
Your audio is definitely clearer now.
Okay.
But the battery on my device is going to die, so popping on for a minute was about all I can do. I really should go.
You've given me a lot of great information. And, helped me to think about what my approach has been.
But yeah, don't overthink it. But remember, they're 3 across now. They used to be 4 across. So keep that in mind. The more someone has to scroll, especially to get to the bigger ticket items, the less people you're going to get.
Sure.
So make each level fairly distinct.
Oh, was that?
And you'll be better.
Right.
Because you don't want people scrolling to see all the different levels.
Right, unless you're like Martha Stewart and they really like you.
Well, and your descriptions also determine the size of your tier. So the more descriptive you get with something, the more you're bumping down what's underneath it.
Right.
So if your descriptions are really short, and it's usually along the lines of this is the tip jar, my undying love, blah blah blah. This is the and make up fun names. This is the incompetent chef level, which includes the tip jar, which is my undying love, and this additional thing. And this is the budding cook level. It includes the tip jar, which is my undying love, the incompetent chef, because why not? We all have to start somewhere. And this is what's in that one, and this is what I'm adding to it. If each level looks like you're adding something, then it becomes a sweeter deal.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because I know that I can also use this somewhat like a mailing list too to give people inside information, which is partly some of hey, my book's going to go live on this date. Nobody else knows that, or whatever it is.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
Sweetheart, I gotta go.
I appreciate your input. I appreciate hearing from you, and hopefully we've caught you before your device dies there. So.
Yeah, I gotta plug it in, walk away from it for a bit because I needed to record some stuff tonight too. So.
Ah.
All right. Oh, there he goes. He disappeared again. Oh, you're back again. Oh my God, you keep disappearing. I'm gonna go before you disappear again. I'm gonna disappear. Bye, everyone.
Wow. Okay, so I think Christina has come and gone, and she gave me some great information that was wonderfully appreciated. And I know that, let's see, I know Nade had some nice things to say about what Christina was sharing with us. And if you're still around today, if you've got some knowledge on this, please let me know. Um, because that was invaluable. It rather reshapes what I was going to do as my approach. And let's see if May is still here. Which I mean, if she was, she'd hear me saying it. So anyway, let's type a note to her there too. So already, this tells me that where I was thinking of doing something with my already free recipe of the month, that in the strategy of things means zip. The only thing that I can do with my free recipe of the month is where I take those down at the end of the month and put up a new one, is that I can make this a repository where it's available to people. But then again, going with what Christina said, here and there, I've had people turn around and say, "Hey, your Greek lemon chicken soup recipe was magnificent, and I lost it. Would you mind sending it to me again?" Well, at that point, in a way, I kind of have to stop being the good guy, because usually I'm like, "Well, if you had it and you lost it, okay." And I send it to people, and that kind of goes back on what the plan is of the recipe's free for a month and then it's gone. Well, no, actually that works right there. It's free for a month and then it costs something. Yeah. So maybe that's part of the strategy. Um, Heck, I could even use that within my line at the bottom of the recipe, which is, this is free for a month, and if you want it after that, join my Patreon. Probably a little bit nicer worded than that, but it's along the lines. So anyway, anyway, wow. Okay, maybe I need to do talk stuff more, because I've got 100 people that have stopped by, 108 people that have stopped by within 50 minutes, where it takes more time than that when I'm playing bagpipes. Anyway, so the topic again is, if you have questions about starting a Patreon profile like me, if you're a newbie and you haven't started it yet, but you're thinking about it and you have questions, hey, come on and ask those questions, because I have questions. If you have questions, it's very possible, very likely, that you have questions that I haven't thought of. If you have experience as a Patreon subscriber, then please come on and you can give that perspective. And if you are a creative on Patreon, then hey, please come on, like Christina there, someone who is knowledgeable, and say, this is what I've done. This is the price ranges that I offered. These were the rewards I gave. These were the extras that I gave, what have you. Because right now it's rather sounding like I could just start where Christina said, just do a tip level, and you know, see about getting $3 a month from people who just know who I am and want to support me in doing what I'm doing. And at that point, I can continue to build my my financial levels there, and at least start. That's kind of also the training wheels way of starting. Put it that way. It's a good spot to start. Get the lay of the land. One of the questions that I have, and this is partly just to fill time before hopefully someone else who's knowledgeable here that I can invite in and join on the broadcast, is Oh, and there was another thing I wanted to say, Christina, about haps and my piping, but I'll tell you guys that in just a second. Anyway, and then my brain working in 20 different directions at once. I just forgot what the other thing was. So, so one of the questions that I have is, I know it costs $2 a month to be a subscriber, to be essentially a buyer at Patreon. I don't know if there's a flat, I haven't caught this or not. I don't know if there's a flat fee for being an artist, a creative, a seller. I know that they have, I think it's 3 different levels of percentage that they take from the money that you do make. Patreon takes, and they give you certain amount of tools to exist and promote yourself as a creative there. So I know that they charge the creatives, it's like 2, 5, and I think 8%. But do they also have like a flat monthly member fee? That's one I don't know. At this point too, I'm a little bit more curious. Should I sign up for that whatever it is, 2%, 5%, 8%? Because the 2 sure seems like a way to get started. 5, they sure give you a lot more things. I'm sure that you can change what your level is at a different time, if it's quarterly or monthly. I imagine it's monthly. That's one of the questions that I've had. So anyway, let's see. And let me take a look here on the back end of HAPS. Okay. So I guess looking at the back end of HAPS that Christina wants to still come around, she can come around, which would be fine. She's knowledgeable. She's great. She's a wonderful person. Anywho. So one of the ones that I wanted to mention to her with regards to HAPS and being Bagpiper Dawn, and I'm Bagpiper Dawn everywhere online, including bagpiperdawn.com, is that I thought one of the things that I could do with HAPS, where you can bring people on, like Christina, who was just here, one of my thoughts was that if I could get subscribers on HAPS, that what I could do is, as offering a special to those subscribers, is that when I do my broadcasts, they can come on kind of first come first serve and sit in on the performance, in the standpoint that they're an audience actually in the chat room like this, or I'm confusing my terms just because I don't really work with this stuff a lot, so I don't know this stuff. It's kind of like networking. I know what it is, but I haven't worked with it. So if you want me to set up your router, forget it. Or at least I'm still thinking in the old days where it was a router with about a dozen Cat5 cables coming out of the back of it. Well, that was a big one. Anyway, so what I could do in those cases is, as long as those people understood, hey, you can come in and you can sit there, and when I'm not playing, we can talk about the music, but the main focus is still doing the music. So anyway, that's what I've thought to do on HAPS, at least for the music part of things. So anyway, and I don't know, maybe I need to get a couple of logins with HAPS where one is my music and the other one is for the cooking focus. And so far as I know, that's not a problem. So anyway, so as said, for the couple of new people that have stopped by and are perhaps still listening, instead of going, bug it, this guy's not talking about anything. Yeah, forget about it, right? Anyway, I am considering starting a Patreon profile relative to both being an author and authoring recipe books, having one of my hats being that I cook and bake and sell information and learning and recipes around cooking and baking. Anywho, well, no, I couldn't have done it when I ran from upstairs to downstairs. It would have been nice to grab a copy of my recipe book, and so I could still go see. Anywho, so I am considering starting a Patreon profile, and I'm trying to get more information from other people that have used Patreon, be it that they have been a Patreon subscriber or a Patreon creative. And I'm also very interested and open to having people come in, invited onto this, that can ask some additional questions. Hello, Natasha from Los Angeles. Do let me know in the comments if you are familiar with Patreon, and if so, if you have some expertise, I will invite you in. Like I said, so I'm trying to get more information about starting a Patreon profile as a creative. So I'm looking to hear from other creatives. I'm looking to hear from subscribers on Patreon. And I'm even looking to hear from people who are like myself, that are new to it, that haven't done it, that have questions, because I want to hear what their questions are to help expand what my questions and ultimately answers are, and ultimately understanding of Patreon. So anywho, so let's see what's going on. So if you're here and you've got some expertise, if you're here and you've got some expertise, do please let me know so I can invite you in and have you chitter chatter about that. And yeah, there we go. So let's see, doing some stuff, typey. So thank you for subscribing, Natasha. And yeah, so something more about Patreon. So I already know to just start it out as have like a $3 level where people can tip. Let's see. Natasha says, which of course everybody on Haps Leastwise can read the comments here. Natasha says, thanks, Bagpiper Dawn. I wish I did have expertise in Patreon. That is something I'd love to learn about this year as well. Well, like I said, Natasha, if you have questions, I will gladly invite you on. Looking to just generally get some talk about this, and not freeze, because this room isn't really heated. I just noticed that. Anyway, to that end, yeah, if you have questions, I mean, I've gotten a few questions answered. I've gotten a few questions answered by other people. Let's see, let's warm up. And yeah, whoa, there we go. So, that's better. Anywho. So, yeah, if you're interested in coming on, Natasha, I'd love to have you. I'd be curious. I saw with your profile that it says, let me double check. It says you are a founder. I'm not sure quite what of, but actress and educator. Wow. Anyway, I'm curious what you would look to offer, perhaps on Patreon your own self. So for giggles, I'm going to type in so you can potentially join. And if you want to, great. And if not, that is a-okay. Yes, I think I'm pronouncing your name right. Sorry about that. Anyway, let's see. Okay, Natasha, I have invited you in. If you care to join, that would be cool. Okay, so, and one of the things that I prepared to do with having this this chat is I prepared to take notes too. So quite obviously, anybody else, whatever your system is, I'm sure you'll do that. But I already have some real good notes, and in fact, I love Christina's thing of don't. Let me type this in. Over hyphen think. Your Patreon, Patreon, subscriber levels. There we go. Okay. So let's see. Natasha says she can join in a little bit. Well, that's cool. So side note, and as I put with this broadcast, looks like she's coming in. I am doing the Haps Challenge, and usually I do that with playing my Scottish small pipes 2 days a week. And I decided to throw the hashtag on this as well because, hey, if more people come in with this, great. I've got my Haps Challenge taken care of for this week. But I do broadcast 7 p.m. on Monday and 1 p.m. on Friday playing small pipes. So, and that's the type of stuff. So I think you're kind of here, Natasha, or are you?
I am.
Okay. We've got your voice. Do we get your image, or you just want to do voice?
Oh, I don't. Do I have to click on my? I think you have to click on my little connected thing. Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
there you go. Okay, so I'm new to this my own self. So hello.
Hi. Hi. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, well, as said, I'm looking for, so to speak, three types of people between folks that have done Patreon as subscribers, folks who have done Patreon as creatives, so people that are selling stuff, and then folks like you and I, which are hey, I'm looking to start a profile, but I've got these questions and I haven't quite been able to figure them out based off the website. So now
Right.
between yourself being, as it says on your profile there here on HAPS, that you are a founder, an educator, and an actress. So what's that life about?
Thank you for asking. Yeah, so I am, let's see, founder. I'm the founder of a independent news community publication
Oh, good.
called the Young Hollywood Blast.
Okay.
And that is actually another site here on HAPS that I'm starting.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so I'll just pop that into the comments so you
Okay.
can see that.
I'll make my own notes for later.
But yeah, so I'm the founder there, and that organization has been around for about 10 years as of this October.
Right
Yeah.
on.
So that's that. And then I'm an actress by trade, by training, and educator is something I'm aspiring to do over the next
Nice.
while. So that's a new field I'm getting into now.
What's your approach as an educator? Is it that you're looking to become a school teacher, or is it that you're looking, I mean, like me, teach cooking classes? I mean, that it's still educator, even if it's not what I went to college for. How are you looking to approach that?
Yeah, I look at it more as a from the well, I'm looking to get into the higher education side of things, so college level, and working with adults more than children. I have worked in the school age level, but that just isn't a good fit for me. And yeah, I want to really work more like as an I'm looking into like acting, like teaching acting and teaching about business and acting, and like so combining all the different skills and like
Oh, good.
yes, seeing how to help people like be more resilient in their careers, that kind of thing. But
You know,
I have to add in real quick,
mhm.
I don't know whether you prefer to be called by your full title here, Bagpiper Dawn, or
Oh,
just Dawn.
Dawn is good.
Okay, just checking.
If you don't see tartan, Dawn is good. So no, and what you're saying right there about helping educate other people in an industry, right? Okay, so I've been playing Highland bagpipes, Scottish small pipes. I mean, I got started on that in 1988. I have ended up talking with a number of different musicians, a number of different people that are in the entertainment industry, a number of different bagpipers. How do you approach the business? I've gotten a number of different tips, and it's this great amalgamation of knowledge in partly in sales, and personal business management and everything that way. At
Yes.
one point, like a lot of us, I tried my hand at stand-up comedy, which I
Oh
will tell you,
wow, I love
yeah.
stand up too. I'm actually currently like getting into stand up stuff as well. Like
Oh, okay.
us
Well,
creative types, we do everything.
yeah. And see, my whole history of stand-up comedy is I went with whatever it was. I had a monologue that I presented, and the first night I got laughs, and the second night I had people listening with rapt attention. No laughter. So
There's
that was,
nothing quite like silence.
yeah. And then the third night I couldn't even get invited onto the stage, so I was like, no, okay, stick with bagpipes. The thing though is there was a fellow, actually, on the underground scene. He's kind of one of at that time he was a top comic on the Seattle underground scene.
Hmm.
So this guy was supporting himself financially off of Chuckles, and great for him. Well, he also taught classes. and he would teach a class prior to the weekly stand-up at that particular location. And I turned around I mean, part of it was he would just say, don't do this on stage. He never said what to do, right? So that was awkward. But I also turned around and I said, okay, so if I start making it as a stand-up comic, how should I approach these jobs? How should I bid them? How, what sort of things should I watch out that clients will do with you? Because I know what they'll do with me to try and manipulate me as a bagpiper, right? I mean, all these different things. And he didn't really say anything. He's just like, oh, you'll figure it out. I'm like, dude. So yourself turning around and saying that you're interested in helping educate people in that industry, great.
Thank you. Thank you for that encouragement, because I'm at the start of this process of learning how to teach what I've learned over the last 15, 20 years. We just plod along, don't we? We just like take the steps, and then we trip and we get up and okay, I'm going to do this differently now, and I'm going to try that differently. Right. But I really wanted to add in here real quick before we ask any more questions. The HAPS challenge, I wanted to support you on that, and so I made sure to share this with my audience they'll see that you're broadcasting and get you some more views, because I know how hard it was last week when I was trying to do it.
Yeah, well, see, and so far I've been doing that with my small pipe performances, and I was doing Friday at 1 p.m. I added Monday 7 p.m. with the idea that if I don't make it, if I didn't make it on Friday, I only have Saturday to get 250 people with another broadcast, and I might be busy. So try and make it Monday, with Friday being my backup. And it's taken the better part of 3 hours to get 250 people. Quite frankly, I think some of that is an issue I've addressed, which is the mics that I have. I think they have been too hot going into my computer, and I've had bad sound. So I think that's part of the reason why people haven't wanted to be around. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see. And as you can see on my end, I have terrible, and I mean a terrible internet connection that I really need an upgrade. This is it just became very aware, in the last week since I've been on HAPS, because I've only been here for a week. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm totally brand new here. And I was just like, you know what? I need to do something about this, because it just isn't working. It just keeps breaking up. I'm not even sure how much of this people are hearing.
In my experience, if you're having problems like what I'm seeing right now, because been there, done that, because visually you're pixelated, but your voice is fine, and that's how it will continue to broadcast. So they'll still hear you. So
okay.
We just
that's good news.
We don't get to enjoy your lovely smile quite as much. That's all.
Oh, well, that's very, very kind of you to say. Thank you. and yes, that's kind of encouraging, because sometimes I'm over here on this side. I see my pixelated face going in and out, and just sometimes just going blank, and it just, or stopping, when it just freeze frames, and you're just like,
That's why. So I'm usually not on this level of the house. I'm usually right above me, but this wall that's right behind me, that I'm in a 1895 historic landmark Victorian house, right?
Oh, wow.
Prior to my family taking over this house, somebody decided to take two basically hay storage buildings, small barns, and sidle them up to the back of the house, and then punch some doors through to make the house bigger. So that's two walls right behind me, and signal doesn't push too well through that. So
okay.
Usually the signal that I get upstairs, where I do all of my writing and my piping and all my creative stuff, I end up getting what you're getting right now. And it was so bad that it was dropping. So I ran downstairs one of the times that it dropped with my laptop. So, be better, fingers crossed, all that stuff. So now, what is it that you're looking to offer via Patreon?
Yeah, that's the part that I was working on with my news organization, The Blast. And this is all about, trying to figure out what tiers I can offer my community. and that's the part I really need to answer do some soul searching, like within the community, like what do they need? What do they want? And really answer some questions first before I can start building the tiers. And then from there, like I figure like using the Patreon, they have like a section in there where they teach you stuff. It's like the Patreon University or something, right?
I don't think I knew about that. Thank you.
Yeah, there's like, I think somewhere, if you look through the website, they'll have like, okay, this is how you learn how to use the thing. And I just haven't looked through it because it was just so much information, which is great. It's great that it's there when you're ready to go look for it. So maybe, yeah, just look around on their website, see if you can find that section with all the, info. And I think they have like community users, like also tell people how to use it better. And but it's just like finding the time, making the time to, learn all that.
See, lately I've been telling people it's my new line, and I'm still fine tuning. It is things have been so busy. I feel like an octopus in a boxing match, and I'm the only I'm the only contestant. So,
okay, you can keep that one.
It's the nicer way of saying I feel like a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. So.
You can keep that one for stand-up. That's a good one.
If I go back.
Yeah, I mean, I think bagpipes and stand-up go very well together. People won't know what to expect.
Okay, so I think one, if not both times that I was on stage, I took my bagpipes with me, and I put my arms behind me and I held my pipes and I gave the monologue, and it was just to leave people going, why, right? And I ended up messaging a fella. I'm not going to say his name, because after messaging him, I'm not going to have a thing to do with him. But this guy is kind of the stand-up comic with bagpipes, and I was like, yeah, hey, so I'm kind of doing this, and I'm curious if you have any advice. My advice is don't steal my act. I'm like, okay, you don't actually know that I was going to steal your act, but way to bring somebody in, so forget you. So
yeah, there's like so many different communities and like protocols within the like different creator communities, and comedy is one of those where really you have to be so careful. It's like it's nerve-wracking sometimes. I just don't even like to worry about. I mean, I think that was, I think that was really cool that you reached out, and that's, too bad for that person that they didn't see it as an opportunity. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. And that's the way I looked at it, let alone, and I mean, truth is, if you search online bagpipe comedy, you'll figure out who this guy is. And I mean, the thing with him is like his comedy isn't actually that great. It's very corporate, guffaw, one hit setup, knockdown guffaws. But at the same time, I think he ends up doing some tour the world, do comedy, but then like help feed starving kids in Africa or some, he does some sort of good cause thing that way in conjunction, which I think is great. But his comedy actually isn't that great, and some of this other stuff. So I don't know. So as it is, I mean, the piping community is its whole own minefield of great people to navigate, right? I mean, it's people that will give you their shirt off their back and buy you a sandwich, but at the same time, if you do something wrong this way, they will drive it into home that you screwed up. So I take a little bit of I walk to the outside of that group, put it that way.
Before today, I didn't know that a bagpiping community existed. So like, this is why I love HAPS, because it broadens your horizons, and I get to learn about, a field that I literally did not know existed until like 5 minutes ago.
Well, and I've actually more so lectured on the history of bagpipes, but I'm also aware of the community to the standpoint that at this point, largely because of British military, Highland bagpipes have really, to say, found their way around the world. The world competitions here just a couple of years ago, they had a group show up who was from India, and I think they placed. And what what was really fantastic about this community is you do have a few people here and there that turn around and I mean they're that stereotypical curmudgeon that they'll turn around and say shouldn't have any gay people, shouldn't have any black people, it should only be people with Scottish heritage, and they are so far and few in between. And when those folks turn around and pop their gopher heads up, we just say shut up, right? The more the merrier. If people want to be here, by and large, we just say come on in. There's plenty of space at the table. And so when we saw this East Indian group show up and place, I mean, the world via the internet turned around and said, fantastic, you're here. Thank you. Wonderful. And it was cool because you could look at the Pipe Majors profile on Facebook and it would just sit there going like. The count was just going up and up and up. And, to that end, and I'll bookend it with this and hand it back to yourself, is that I can, I have a stack of CDs, obviously, of pipe bands, and I could put on, say, Simon Fraser University, who's a world champion pipe band up in BC. I could put on Field Marshal Montgomery, that's a top band in Scotland, and I could put on the CD for the City of Tokyo Toyota Pipes and Drums. Okay, so a Japanese pipe band, and I could challenge you which one is from Japan, and you wouldn't know. I guarantee you wouldn't know. It's good, and it's as far as I'm concerned, it's fantastic that everybody around the world is taking on Highland bagpipes, which started in the Middle East anyway. So
there you go. There you go. Well, I want to thank you again, Don, for inviting me on to your broadcast. It is, I'm going to start winding down for my evening because it is Sunday night. And I think I need to get an early start on Monday. Okay. But you're past the 150 mark. So you've only got like 100 more views to go, which let's do the math. Like I'm always about the math here. So you got 154 out of 250. So you're over halfway there. You're at 61%.
Yeah, this is faster than me playing my tail off with bagpipes.
So it was really, you played for 3 hours straight?
So my first, let's see, it was Friday a week ago. 10 days ago, 9 days ago, whatever. I got my 250 in about, it was an hour and 25 minutes, and I had 287 people at that point. Wow. And then this past Monday, it took the better part of 3 hours to get just beyond 250. So maybe I need a yicker yacker more. Before you go, if I may ask you a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
First one's a statement, duh. I stopped watching TV like 15 years ago, right? Hey, Lee. Lee's a bagpiper and flautist in New Jersey, I think it is.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know who she is. So I stopped watching TV like about 15 years ago. And one of the big reasons why I stopped watching was because of the news. And, the issue for me is I watch the news and I'm smart enough to know, or, I don't know, maybe I'm conspiratorial or something like that, but they'll turn around and say, a car flew off the bridge, and I'll turn around and go, wait a minute, there is a 5-foot retaining wall that is 10 feet high on that bridge. There is no way a car can fly off that bridge. They're lying, or whatever it is. I mean, you could see all this garbage that they were just soft shoeing their way through, or they were doing as yellow journalism. They were hyping things up, and it was just that for me was part of the noise with the commercials and the bad TV shows and all this stuff. And I just said enough, right? So when someone turns around and says they're looking to do some independent journalism, great, because I
Mhm.
think journalism needs a reboot.
Mm.
And it's, yeah, I'll just say that I think journalism needs a reboot. Now, with yourself, with looking to use Patreon toward your journalism, where you're saying you're not sure what to offer at the different tiers, have you thought of any ways to query the public or query followers that you already have toward figuring this out?
Yeah, that's a great question, Don. I have, you know, been thinking about that for the last couple years. I've tried some different polls. Part of the process for me is actually learning how to ask the questions. Even learning how to survey properly is a
Oh, cool.
skill
Uh-huh.
that I don't necessarily have. And so I'm having to learn like a bunch of different skills that are related to being an independent journalist as the process goes. I'm like learning, as I say, learning as I go. And yes, that's exactly the intention, is to reach out to the community I have. I have a Facebook community. Um, I have an email list, and there's people who are more active than others that I'm thinking about, like, hey, just reaching out, very friendly email, warm email, you've been part of the community. I'd love to, kind of ask you what you think about these ideas and what you'd like to see here. Because really, I want to make it more about them than what I want.
Oh, nice.
Because again, this is meant to serve them. This is a service and not, meant to just be a place where, I just, I don't know. I mean, the name Young Hollywood Blast, it does incorporate my name, Young, my last name, Natasha Young, but
Nice.
it's just, to say, hey, I founded this, and I am definitely an integral part of of this. Like, without me it wouldn't be running, because I've really been the driving force behind it for 10 years, but at the same
And
time
it takes
everyone
off
else
a
is.
good way to guarantee yourself a position. So,
That's it. I'm trying to confirm my job placement for the next while.
right.
But I don't know if that answered your question. So yes, yeah, and I agree with everything you're saying. And that's part of the reason why I started the blast. Because
Right.
you can see you've touched on like kind of like the sort of the point where I'm like, okay, this is what I get really excited about, is because this, I recall the moment I decided to create the blast. It was like
Good.
one of these sort of like light bulb moments where I went, that needs to be created. And I was like, well,
Right.
who's going to create it? I better do it. If I want to
Right.
see this in the world, I have to take the step and just do it. And that's how it started. And I've just been sort of like stumbling over myself since then. Like, like just going, okay, what do I do next? What's next? I don't know. But
So, at least for what I'm looking to do with Patreon, I don't remember if I said since you came on or generally came in. So, one of my hats is that I am a baker and a book writer, a recipe book writer. And
wow.
yeah, I've published Make Your Own Darn Good Cookies October 2018. I just did a free ebook based off of that. It's got 2 recipes from the book. So, it's a
Congratulations.
yeah. I even put Scottish and Irish recipes into a bagpipe sheet music that I published this past November. So I'm kind of doing some quirky stuff, but I'm doing it my way. Um,
Nice. Yeah.
yeah. So where some of that came from too is that December 2014 into, I think it was, March 30th of 2016, I had my own bakery and I was making cookies and selling those, and small business and everything that way. Um, so one of the things that I picked up prior to launching this, and maybe this is a happy little nugget for you, um, is, and I think it's a Danish saying or something like this. I don't remember. The work will show you how to do it. Okay. So to that end, I went into this cookie business going, okay, I've got 12 recipes and they're really good. And I've got almond and I've got anise and I've got ginger and coffee and chocolate and, you know, all this stuff. And people only wanted to buy almond, chocolate, and the coffee flavored biscotti. And I'm like, come on, people, I've got these great flavors. Don't you want to try them? I like my almond. You know, the people are just kind of set in their ways, right? Well, the work showed me, let people know that ginger is available if they want to order it. But the cafe, they just want those 3 flavors. So give them those 3 flavors because that's what they sell. The work showed me how to do it. That was also the case once I started writing the books. That's the case once I started selling books. And that's a saying that I keep on going back to. And another one, when I was making the website for my company, was I was looking at it going, God, I need the website, but I need to bake cookies. And, you know, a friend of mine said, yeah, I mean, I was making my website like in between cookies being in the oven, right? And I'm talking with a friend of mine and I'm like, I'm doing backflips in the bakery and pulling my hair out because I can't be that octopus right now and handle everything. But I need this website and it needs to have 10 different pages or whatever it was. And he's like, well, Don, can you get 1 page up tonight that just says Whidbey Island Baking Company, here's the contact information, cookies available at these 2 farmer markets and 3 stores on the island? Yeah. Well, he says, Don, here's the thing. Don't let good be the victim of great. And that's another one. You know, I mean, we don't have to do these things perfectly, because if we say, I'm not going to do this until it's perfect, it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to happen. Right. So even where my friend Christina came on here earlier, and you might want to watch the earlier part of the broadcast later. She's done Patreon.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I really would like to see that earlier part.
Yeah. Well, she'd said, one of the things she said was make your first tier a tip level thing. Just people that know who you are, they like what they're doing, like what you're doing, and they just want to support you and don't expect anything. And that's like $3. Okay. Because truth of the matter is, if you had 2,000 people giving you $3 a month, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's a good situation.
It is a very good situation.
And she said probably
you
once
cover
a year,
your expenses.
Yeah, she said once a year, send them a Christmas card or something. You know, you'll see it in the playback there. I see you're writing the notes. Cool.
Yeah, I'm just jotting it in here for you. It's almost habit for me, because like when I run my own broadcast, I like to, you know, like just if there's any like really key, like sort of quotable things, I like to like just pop them into the comments, because you never know who might be scrolling through that and think, I don't know what the whole broadcast is about. It's like a 2.5-hour broadcast. I don't know if I have time for that, but looking through the comments, if I see something that pops out at me, I'm like, oh, I need to like look, I need to see this. So that's one of my little like things that I like to do on Haps that I just figured out like since I've been here.
That's really great, because I've been sticking them into a notepad file for my own self, which is more in the style of my writing my books. Right?
There you go. I mean, I'm all about sharing. Like I'm going to add another person in here who just inspires me greatly. He knows a lot about live streams, Keith Keller. It's all about share. If you have information, if it can be of use to people, I mean, if it doesn't take anything away from like, as long as it's not like your stuff, your secret special, like thing, the trademarked thing that, you're not giving away the trade secrets. I think that it's really helpful to just be in that frame of mind of like, how can I be of more service to people who are around me? You never know, like what you just shared with me today, those 2 quotes have like, they've actually shifted my thinking about everything, like just those 2 quotes.
Yeah. And
You could
what
have
you
kept that to yourself, Dawn. You could have been like, you know what, I know this, and she might know it, but I know this. But you instead shared it, and now as a result, the 174 now live views that you have, that I see on my end. You might have more. My internet's slow.
actually how that works out, and a lot of people apparently don't know this, is um, so I'm seeing the back end. I don't remember what you see when you come on as a guest, but I think you pretty much see the same thing that I see. So right now it just went to 172. Wow. Um, so where you have that green eye, 173, then you also have the reactions between the thumbs up and the smiles and those little things. Well, people that are
Oh,
viewing
got it.
this but aren't chatting like you and I are, they see those numbers put together. So right now they would see 187, but the truth of the matter is it's 100. It just went to 183. Wow, that's cool. And there's 5 reactions. So if you're
Got
doing
it.
the challenge and you go, oh, I got 250, I'm going to stop.
Right.
You didn't. so,
Right. Yeah.
so,
Yeah. No,
so
that's good. That actually, I didn't know that until
mhm.
after. And luckily, like we let the broadcast run, like way past the point, like, cause we were
Mhm.
just kept talking because there was just more to talk about as there is. I mean, I already said, like, what was it 15 minutes ago? Hey, Dawn, I'm going to be winding down. And look, here we are 15 minutes later, still chatting because it's that easy to stay.
And thank you for that. It's been very nice. Um, yeah,
It's
see,
been
that's
fun.
part of the reason why I was like, okay, got to go for the 3 hours, because I want to make sure that it's at least 251 for certain. So,
Yes. I
uh,
don't blame you.
and one of the things that you just said reminded me of one that has been given to me. I mean, for the times that I've gotten to ride on the shoulders of giants, of people with wisdom and spirit and grace. One of the lines was that all life is service. And not everybody thinks that way, but when you look at it and you say all life is service, so if you hold the door open for someone, you were just in service of them. It's a small thing, but how far does that go? Maybe further than you know, right? Picking up that piece of garbage, nobody sees it necessarily. Or somebody goes, what, that bum's picking up garbage, or whatever it is. But what does that piece of garbage do if it didn't get picked up? Whatever it is. So where you're turning around and saying that you want to use your broadcast there, with your news, your journalism. Sorry, um, turning around and saying that you want to take a service oriented attitude. To me, that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing, and I think more people need to come to that awareness, and not everybody does.
Thank you, Don. And, again, I owe a lot of that to having great mentors in my life at times when it was like I needed that sort of guidance on how should I approach my career, and I'm constantly learning from people that I meet in the sort of career space that's sort of becoming like the internet in a way. Like the internet has been my career space for over a decade now, and it's amazing to me that one of the closest mentors that I have is in Australia. um
But that's the beauty of it too, that we do have this connectivity and that we do have this opportunity. I mean, heck, I got to record Highland bagpipes for a metal band in Greece years ago, back in the MySpace days. That was so long ago. But I mean,
MySpace.
yeah, but I mean, if we didn't have the internet, at least as we know it today, would I have ever connected with those guys? Highly likely not. And I mean, it wasn't great music, frankly. I mean, they were a really garbage band, and they were the first ones to tell anybody that. They just liked being a band and making albums, and they said, "We know it's not good. We just like doing it," right? Which was
Exactly.
which was kind of a cool attitude too, right? I mean, they weren't trying to make slop, but they knew that they weren't Metallica or whatever, right? And I got to connect with these guys, and I mean, gosh, I can look up Marius if I ever think I'm going to Greece at this point, and connect with him in real life. And
Mhm.
that would have been 1 billion and one to happen without the internet. So if you're reaching that person in Australia or Tibet, Taiwan, Zimbabwe, whatever it is, golly, it doesn't matter, and that's great.
Yeah, totally. And while we're at this sort of like pause, you've just gone over the 200 mark with 202 live views. So you're
Thank you.
almost there.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I need to stop playing bagpipes and figure out stuff to talk about.
You know what? I could tell you right now. I'm like, just when you mentioned about the cookies, like I sort of I can't eat any cookies at all, and that like totally has my interest because it's something I can't do.
Well, and I mean that's part of it too. Is there's a lot of people that say they can't bake, and I look at it and say, no, you can bake. You don't know how yet, because a lot of people, they're taught how to cook, but they're not taught how to bake. And then when they go and grab a recipe for baking, and they don't know some of the techniques, and they just look at it like a recipe for cooking, and they just say, oh, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then it comes out of the oven, and it's this crazy garbage. It's like, well, okay, it's because somebody didn't tell you pack the brown sugar, don't leave the mixer with the flour running for 3 hours, or or whatever. you know I mean, a friend of mine, in fact, the same guy that said, don't let good be the victim of great, I mentioned this to him and he said, well, like what? And I said, when you measure brown sugar, you have to pack it into the cup. He says, I'm 71 years old and I've never heard that. Like, there's my point. So,
There you go. Exactly.
and I mean,
Exactly.
I've had some people turn around like yourself and say, I can't eat cookies for one reason or another, and most of them are dietary. And okay, that's cool. I get it. They said, but I'd love to bake, but I've never done it because I can't eat much of this stuff. And I'm like, well, it doesn't mean you can't try this and make it, give it to other people. Make happiness through food.
I'm just popping my contact info into our comments here on our end in the dashboard, and I'm gonna hop off now and
Okay.
start like getting ready for bed. Like brush the teeth, like all that sort of like good stuff. And I am sure you are gonna hit that 250 mark in no time flat.
45 to go.
I've invited people. I've retweeted. Like people are probably like still seeing this. Maybe pull the bagpipes out for like the last little bit, the last hurrah. 45 views.
Yeah, with the signal issues, that might not quite work. Like I said, the double wall here, I was having signal problems up here. So when I had enough of a blip, I said, okay, unplug and grab the laptop, run downstairs and be closer to the router. So bagpipes are right here. So
Well,
it won't quite work, but I like your idea.
okay. Well, thanks again so much, and I'll see you around on HAPS.
I'd like that. I hope so. And I've got your email address here. You'll be very surprised with mine. It's the same, but it's my screen name. So it's just that easy. Um, anyway, but no, thank you for coming in and not only sharing about your Patreon questions, but your other aspirations that are also related to that. So that's great, and it's certainly been nice. And yeah, I do hope to see you around.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you. You take care.
Bye.
Bye, Natasha. Oh, let's see. There we go. Okay. So myself also still learning how to work HAPS. I wasn't quite sure if she was getting herself out or I needed to like stop her comments. So that in mind, cool. There's 207 people here. The count is going faster than what I'm accustomed to while I'm playing bagpipes for people, which again, that's excuse me. That's Pacific time, 7 p.m. Monday and 1 p.m. Friday. I do that on HAPS and I shoot that to Facebook, to Twitter, and to YouTube. So let's see. So Lee, you came in, and I think one or two other people came in asking what the topic was, what was going on. Oh, and you asked about how Patreon works. So let's talk about how Patreon works. So anyway, Patreon, and I posted the link there a little while ago. Patreon, there's a couple of different sites that do the same thing, I guess. Patreon's the one that I'm most aware of. That in mind, I figured that that's kind of the better one to use, so to speak, just because you're more likely to attract more people. So the thing with it, if you think on the standpoint that there are buyers or subscribers, and there's creatives or sellers, right? So the creatives are people that, like myself, play musical instruments, write books, make podcasts. Actually, I do all of those. Anyway, so there's people that make stuff that they can sell, so to speak. Well, the subscribers, the patrons, they pay about $2 a month for a membership, and then they go in and they find people that either they already know or they find other artists that attract their attention, and they can subscribe to that artist for different amounts. And for their subscription, they receive different stuff. So as my friend Christina, who was here earlier, was saying, she said set your very first level at $3, which is just a tip. So people who know who you are, like what you do, if they're willing to give you $3 a month, but they're not expecting anything more from it than what you already do, which is, you know, writing a book and publishing it every 12 months. In my case, might be one. You know, but they figure they'll get something about once a year. And as Christina said, send them a Christmas card, whatever. But one way or another, they get something that people can't get elsewhere from Patreon. So where I do a free recipe of the month within my recipe book writing, giving the option of having that recipe a month early isn't really offering anything, because most people will just look at it and go, I'll wait 30 days. It's no different. But if you give them recipes that you're not doing anywhere else, or if you do videos of yourself presenting the recipe, which are not available anywhere else, whatever. So you can, let's use that recipe model. I could say, because what I'm thinking about doing is, right now I'm writing 2 recipe books that I plan to publish during this year. And what my thought is that I could give people, for one level, 1 recipe a month that isn't going to be available until the book publishes. For another level, I could give them 2 recipes, which will be from, you know, 1 from each of those future books or so. So basically, you give different tier levels to either have those subscribers give money and support you, and then they also get something. So it works. So and there's a lot of people doing this. Some people are making their whole income from it. With regards to myself, I have looked at the website. I've learned what I can, but if you don't, I don't know what it is. It's like, if you don't either sign up as a creative or you don't sign up as a subscriber, which costs money, at least as a subscriber, then you can't get into the rest of the website to see what anybody's offering or what sort of prices. You know, there's got to be somebody else that's offering recipes. I'd love to see, you know, what is it that they're offering? What's my competition? Not in the sense of who am I competing against, but what is their example? Okay. So when you get down to it, what is Patreon? Well, in one regard, it's a way of making some money. Being a creative, and where, if you figure, a lot of people as creatives, and at least responding to this, assuming that Leah's still here, you understand this in part, being a musician yourself, that it, you know, not all of us as musicians can make enough money off of our music to pay rent, let alone eat, or, you know, bus fare, or, you know, paying for our instruments. Anyway, the thing though is, this gives people that want to support you in that, from wherever they can get an internet connection, they can do that. So I've been looking at it as a way to generate at least some income, if not more income, What I have right now in the way of income is the occasional gig, which right now with the whole quarantine thing is pretty much okay. The fact that I have one on Saturday. In fact, right now I can't remember my last paid gig. It's been a while, and last year no pay gigs. The fact that I almost had another two between Tuesday and Friday, I was 3 in 1 week, is would had those come to fruition, that would have been a new record, I think. But those two I couldn't do. Anyway, ideally, I make a little bit of money off music. I make a little bit of money off of selling my recipe books. And then once a year, I'm away for the better part of 2 months, and I do scuba diving work, which is profitable. It's really cool work. It's really strenuous work too. But it doesn't make enough money for the whole year, technically. It does just make me enough money, but it doesn't actually make me enough money. So some of it is, while I am still also actively searching for a day job, I'm a small business owner now, and I took my small business from small to smaller with going from production baking to writing recipe books. And hey, I mean, if if I could be oh heck, I'm all these people that I'm thinking of. If I could be Alton Brown, if I could be Gordon Ramsay, if I could be Tony, what's his name? Unfortunately committed suicide. Shucks. Anyway, Anthony Bourdain. There we go. I mean, hey, if I could find myself as being one of those guys and making a lot of money off of recipe books and that be my income, fantastic. I have worked on ways to generate more recipe books faster, more products faster, with the idea, call it the shotgun approach, where I have more stuff out there. Therefore, I've widened my net and ideally catch more people that go, I'll buy this book for $10, for $20, $15, whatever it is. So some of it simply is because I do have a prospective regular job, possibly later this year, that I have been waiting to hear more about for more than 12 months. I look for work, doesn't get me anywhere. Well, I've made work. So essentially, I'm looking at this as a way to explore making more work and more income. So Patreon, it's a platform that's already set up and ready to go. I just have to figure out what to offer, and then ideally approach a lot of the people that are already following those interests, particularly the cooking interest, which I have a good following on Twitter. Not huge. It's a handful of 1,000 people, but it's also, I've got 100 or so people that want to be notified every month that I've put up a free recipe. So even getting started, if that means I have 10 people at the $3 level, hey, I won't turn down $3 a month. Or excuse me, $30 a month, $3 per person. So some of this just is, I don't know that this other job is going to work out. So I'm exploring ways to make more employment for myself, Patreon being one of those. So anyway, so for those of you that are part of the 216 people that are watching or have watched, if you're still here and kind of looking at it going, I don't know. Do I keep on listening to this guy drone on? Anyway, thank you for that, Lee. She says that your concerts have helped me out a lot. So what she's referring to is that I broadcast myself playing Scottish small pipes right now twice a week, Monday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, and you will find me as Bagpiper Don, whether you are on Haps, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. And then I do that again on Friday Pacific time, 1 p.m. And yeah, so anyway, she's talking about those. I started doing those a little bit over a year ago. I did 2 to 3 shows a week, and it was just to give people some respite from the various stressors that came from the whole COVID thing. It was also just an opportunity to do what I do as a musician, because when you don't get to do what you do as an artist, this is this is strong language, so to speak, but when you don't get to do what you do as an artist, it is a form of suicide. And not getting to play for people kind of kind of messes with some of these musicians. And you know, myself, I like doing it too. Kind of gives me more purpose in my practice. So that aside, again, and I was starting to say this, out of the now 217, thank you, people that are here with regard to my Patreon topic. What that is I am looking to start a Patreon profile, and I'm trying to get a better understanding of how to do this, how to start with a good strategy, not necessarily how to start with a perfect strategy, but just how to get started and how to get started decently. So I have figured that there are about 3 kinds of people. And so far I've been fortunate enough to attract 2 of such people to come on and be a part of the broadcast. And it is to say, if you're watching and you say, hey, I'm one of those people, well, put a comment. If you're on HAPS, I will have you in as part of the chat. I will invite you in. So the thing is I figure there are people that are creatives that are already selling on Patreon or offering things on Patreon. I'd love to hear what your experiences are and your strategies, that sort of thing. I figured that there are people that are subscribers, and they're the ones that go, hey, there's this painter and there's this short story writer, and I support both of these folks. Or there's this podcaster and I support them. And then like Natasha, who was on just a few minutes ago and was wonderful to talk to as well. She is like me. I don't do this yet. I have questions about this. I'd like to understand a bit better how to get started, because those questions to me are just as valuable as the answers from the people that are experienced. Because, you know, like Natasha there, she asked questions that I hadn't thought of, that I hadn't asked. So you know, if you've got questions about, and I mean, hey, I've gotten a few of those questions answered myself. Maybe I can help answer them for you. So if you have questions, let me know. If you have experience either as a seller or as a subscriber on Patreon, let me know in the comments. If you are on HAPS, I will have you in on the chat very gladly. And we will all learn more about Patreon. So that's the whole plan here. Take a quick moment to change the subject a little bit. So you'll see that I have titled this show Chat Help Me Start Patreon #HAPS Challenge. For those of you that are not familiar what the HAPS Challenge is and what HAPS is, I should really start with. HAPS is a website, HAPS, HAPPS.TV. And the thing with it is you can broadcast videos exactly like what I'm doing right now, but it allows for a few things that other locations, so far as I know, don't really allow. One of those is you can allow the website-based application to shoot the video to some of your other online locations. So tonight, right now, I've chosen to only let this shoot to my YouTube channel, which is probably really confusing for some of the people because I am Bagpiper Don everywhere. And on YouTube, I'm Bagpiper Don. But here tonight, I'm not doing anything with bagpiping. I'm talking about Patreon. But that was just where I decided to shoot this to. So HAPS lets you shoot those videos. One of the other, well, I mean, you can shoot the video like you're shooting a film, but I mean, you can send it to those other locations. So HAPS lets you feed things to other locations. That's really handy. So you cover more territory. Excuse me. One of the other things that's really groovy with HAPS is people can give you financial tips via HAPS. And I'm not going to explain that any further because that in and of itself is pretty clear. Lastly, so the thing with the HAPS challenge right now, so HAPS is it's not actually a very new website, but at least with the direction that they're going in right now, it's kind of a newer thing. They are still perfecting some of the bugs. It is in beta mode, but so far I've been enjoying it. I've been on for not quite 50 days and I'm digging it. Okay. So anyway, the HAPS challenge, they are doing this to help promote the website. And what it comes down to is broadcasters, which is anybody that has a membership on HAPS. So broadcasters like myself, if they go on and broadcast to at least Haps and one other location at least. So I've chosen to do YouTube tonight because I didn't want to send this topic to my other Bagpiper Dawn locations and confuse people quite so much. So I'm confusing YouTube people. Okay. So the thing is, if, let's just say me, if I go on right now during the Haps challenge, hashtag challenge, I have to go on, broadcast for a minimum of 10 minutes, get 250 or more views via Haps and all of those other websites that the video is shot to. And I have to do that once a week, 8 weeks in a row. And I've satisfied that for the last 2 weeks. Right now, I've got 224. So, hey, a couple of more minutes, I'll have 250 and I'll have made my Haps challenge already for this week. And then tomorrow night, when I do my small pipe broadcast, I don't have to turn around and tell people, hey, share this, invite your friends, call your friends in, because I need to get 250 viewers. And in 8 weeks, I get a whole whopping $50 for the Haps challenge, which, hey, here's the thing, $50, is it that much money? No, but it is getting money for doing something I'm already doing. And as a bagpiper, $50 doesn't go very far, but $50 does still buy some reeds. Okay. So it's worth it to me. So anyway, so back on the topic, as I said, Haps helped me start Patreon. That is that myself, I am looking to start a Patreon profile and offer recipes and other things having to do with myself being a baker and also a book author. Back in, as I said earlier, back in October of 2018, I published my first book titled Bake Your Own Darn Good Cookies. I don't remember the whole subtitle right now, but you'll see that on Amazon, and you'll see the ebook basically everywhere. And then let's see, November just last year, I published The Patriotic Piper Volume 1, which being Bagpiper Dawn, half of that was sheet music with the tune history, which is already an unusual book in the bagpiping community. The other half of that was Scottish and Irish recipes with food trivia and history. Again, food, recipes, book, how to. And then a month later, I ended up publishing a free ebook for the purposes of marketing, which you can get on Amazon or anywhere, again, for free. And it is called Let's Bake Cookie Squares and Biscotti. And the thing with that one is those are two recipes directly out of Bake Your Own Darn Good Cookies, the first book from 2018. So if you like those two recipes, if you like the way I worded myself, well, hey, buy the book, you know. And if you don't want to buy the book, hey, if you've gotten the free book, please, hey, go to Amazon, go to Goodreads, and write a nice review if you liked it. That alone is helpful. Something that a lot of people are unaware of when it comes to Amazon is that reviews matter. And this goes for all products. I look at it and think about it from the standpoint of being an author. When your book gets 50 or more reviews on Amazon, preferably 3 stars and up, because 2 and 1 are not good. In any case, when your product, when your book gets 50 or more reviews, then Amazon actually pushes it a bit more. But before that, nope, they don't. They only push it for the first 30 days of publication. And frankly, I'm really trying to get reviews on all of my books. I've got just about 20, I think it is, on each right now. And like I said, that first book published October of 2018. So that's about 10 reviews a year. And yet I'm selling a few more books than that. Yeah, I've really been trying to follow up with people when and where I can and say, please write the reviews. Please write the reviews. Only takes a couple of minutes and it really matters to me. Basically, it's almost like giving me money. Not much, but it helps to get me there. So anyway. So as myself, as a recipe book author, that's where I see opportunity to do something with Patreon. And again, I will say again, since it's very nice that I have about 230 people here, thank you. If you have experience with Patreon, sorry, I have this sore spot in my mouth. If you have experience with Patreon, either as a subscriber or as a creative, please let me know in the comments. If you are on Haps, I will have you in as a guest on the chat here, and you can talk about your experience, and hopefully I can ask you questions, because I have experience only so far as reading the outer realms of the website, but I can't see the inside as to what other people are doing and how, so I can model what I would do off of that. And for some time, people have suggested that I start a Patreon profile. And you know, that goes back even to when I started my baking business. Prior to that, a lot of people said, "Oh, your cookies are really good. You should go into business." Okay, well, really what that is a compliment. Okay, it's encouragement, but it's a compliment. Um, can I do anything off of that? No, I can't. Okay, I mean, I can smile. You know, that's good in and of itself. But it wasn't until a friend of mine who I dedicated my first book to, in fact, when she turned around and said, "I think you should go into business, and here's how. Let me tell you about my small businesses." And she and I ended up sitting down about a week later, and she showed me a bunch of papers and talked to me, and she put my cookies in the terms that I understood from music. So basically, I was looking at cookies as the same as compact discs, and it's one of those context content sort of things, right? In context, it's sales. In content, one is CDs, one is cookies. Okay, so it started showing me not just, hey, go into business, but here's how, right? So that that's really what ended up launching my small business, my baking business. And now having transitioned my company, having pivoted is the proper term within business, apparently. Having pivoted my company from baking cookies to writing recipe books, which is kind of the difference between working your tail off for no money and some happiness for at least 60 hours a week to working your tail off 40 hours a week for pretty much no money, but a lot more happiness. Um, you know, that's a better deal for me, particularly while I'm frankly hunting for other work. And if other work doesn't come, I still have to make my own work. So that's where I'm looking at Patreon and looking to understand Patreon understand Patreon at least somewhat better before starting Patreon. So I can start Patreon with some strategy, some knowledge, instead of going in and screwing up a bunch. I don't mind screwing up a little. I mean, I'm very DIY, and being DIY, being someone who bakes, someone who creates recipes, you have to be willing to fail. You also have to be willing to stand back up again and try again and be willing to fail again and do something 15 or maybe even 50 times before you go, aha, I've got it. So, like I said, since now I have had and or have 332 viewers, thank you, because that helps towards my HAPS challenge. Because that was the other thing for those of you that were watching before when I explained the HAPS challenge. You also have to have hashtag HAPS challenge in the title of your broadcast to qualify for the HAPS challenge. So anyway, so right now I only need 18 more people to pass by, and then I don't have to talk about the HAPS challenge until next week. And that's beautiful, because then with my bagpipe broadcasts, my entertainment broadcasts on Monday and Friday between Monday 7 p.m. Pacific, Friday 1 p.m. Pacific, Bagpiper Dawn on HAPS, on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube at those times. I don't have to talk about it then. So anyway, if I can make my 2:30 tonight, that is cool. And right now I'm headed toward that number 250. I've made 2:30. Anyway, right now I am headed toward that in record time. So I do appreciate that. So anyway, if you are on HAPS and you have been a subscriber on HAPS, if you have been a creative on HAPS, put it in the comments. Let me know if you have questions. Saying about HAPS. Christina might be coming back. I think I might have to re-invite you, my dear. I'm not sure. Let's see, are you feeding down to your fan page on Facebook? No, I'm only feeding to YouTube tonight, in fact, just because everything else would go to Bagpiper Dawn, and it's kind of weird. Anyway, I just re-invited Christina and Martin potentially to come on and help further talk about Patreon. So anyway, so I was screwing up some of my language there. If you've been a subscriber on Patreon, if you've been a creative on Patreon, let me know if you're on Haps, and I'll have you in the in the conversation here. And if you have oh, okay, cool. I appreciate that, Christina. I wanted to give you an extra person hit. Hang on. Cool. Well, I'm on Haps and I am on YouTube tonight at Bagpiper Dawn, Bagpiper Dawn, Bagpiper Dawn. So anyway, if you've been in one of those categories in respects to Patreon, please let me know in the comments, and I would be pleased to have you on so we can talk about Patreon and I can learn about it and other people can learn about it too. And as said, if you are not already experienced with Patreon as a subscriber or as a creative, but you're in the same boat as me and you have questions, don't think that that's not worth anything. Because to me, those there was a great line years ago was questions are better than answers. And a person can think about in that different ways, including, no, they're not. Anyway, the thing is, if you have questions, those questions inspire and encourage thought, and it inspires and encourages getting those answers, therefore a better understanding. So if you are watching this and you're like myself and you're thinking of starting a Patreon profile and you've got questions, hop on here. I have ended up, ta-da, thank you, Christina and Martin, coming now from YouTube. Anyway, that's great. Anyway, so yeah, so Patreon, is it the end all be all? I don't know, but I do know, heck, there is a podcaster in England, Joanna Penn, Penn, and she does podcasts having to do with all topics in and around writing, being an author. And I haven't gotten to listen to many of her broadcasts, but they have been invaluable. And I've seen the lists of some of her different topics. And I could listen to 50 of those like right now. And they've been very valuable. Good night, Lee. Thank you for coming by. I hope you're well. Anyway, Joanna Penn, she does her podcast, and I think she even does her podcast for free. I know she has a Patreon profile. My guess is she just does I think she calls it Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. I think she just does that first tier of offering, give me a tip. Now, I also know that she writes books and writes books on writing books, writes books on being an author. And my understanding is she's an author with a six-figure salary. Is she Anne Rice? Is she Stephen King? Is she Lee Child? All this stuff. Let's see. Christina and Martin are saying, okay, now I have to get back to edits later. Stay safe, mister. Well, thank you for coming by. Thank you for giving me an additional count there. It's now up to 235, so I just need 15 more people to come in. Thank you for the stay safe award, Christina and Martin. I appreciate that tip here on Haps. That is actually a financial tip. I appreciate that. It's the only one I've gotten tonight. But hey, that's okay. I have gotten some questions. I've gotten some questions answered. I have been given some ideas that are going to make my brain generate some further ideas and ideally come down to some conclusions, I guess to say. Anyway, so, a lot of authors are not six-figure people, but there are authors out there saying, hey, here's my strategy. Here's my ideas toward making 50K annum off of being an author and quitting your day job. Joanna Penn, she's doing six figures. And I don't know about you, but $100,000 a year, even at the most minimum of what makes six figures, I could deal with that. Okay. If it was six figures in the form of $999,999, even $98, I think I could deal with that. Anywhere in that six-figure range, I think I could deal with that. Now, like I said, is she Anne Rice? do anybody know about her in the greater world of reading and writing? Maybe not, but so far as I know, she is and I could be wrong, but as far as I know, she is the preeminent podcaster on the topic of authoring books. And like I said, she's pulling six figures. And one of the things that she's doing is she's on Patreon, and she's got at least that tip level. So anyway, let me do something here real quick. Try and multitask. So, there must be something to it. There must be, I mean, I know that there are people that are paying their bills off of this. There are people that are breaking even. There are people that are showing a profit off of Patreon. Is it a get rich quick scheme? No. Is it something where you can just go on and say, oh, give me a tip, and, otherwise sit back and play video game? No. And I wouldn't take it that anyway, because I actually have self-esteem and a work ethic. But anyway, let's see. See if I can bring in a few other people to try and help my count. Anyway, so boink, there we go. And let's go for, whoops, Eric. Whoops, that's Eric Levitt. There we go. Anyway, so yeah, so it's a matter of getting an understanding of Patreon. So, like I said, I don't mind going into Patreon and goofing up a little bit. I just don't want to goof up entirely. I want to start smart. I don't have to start with, the wisdom of the gods or whatever it is, right? So I'm just trying to get a better understanding of Patreon. So like I said, for those of you who are here, excuse me, who have experience or have questions, and because you're thinking of starting a Patreon profile, that's cool. Let me know. I will bring you into the broadcast if you're on Haps. And if you have experience, I'll ask you questions, whether you've been a seller, a buyer, subscriber. And if you are looking to start your own profile and start being a creative, well, that's cool. Whoops, let's see. Like I said, I'm trying to multitask and get just enough more people in here. Oh, excuse me. Wow, 242. I am only 8 people away. Hey, Vince has just helped out my count here. I appreciate that. And yeah, hey Vince, if you can give a holler, I need 8 more people. Well, let's call it 9 to be safe. And I believe Vince is in California. Anyway, for 250. Let's see if we can get Mr. Bannerman to swing by. Anywho, so yeah, this is it's been a matter of trying to get a better understanding of Patreon, and to that end, having a video that other people can check out and learn some stuff about Patreon. Excuse me. I don't have my water. I'm starting to get dry. So let's see, Mr. John, I am not going to murder your last name because enough people murder mine. Anyway, John just gave me a subscribe there. I do appreciate that. Vince just shared this out. I also appreciate that. Calling a few other people in here, and hey, I get my 250. I can go drink some water. Let's see. So yeah, it's been 251. Yeah, well, Vince, there, I'm not actually at 251 because it is your view counts plus the reactions. So 242 plus 9. Yeah, that's your 251, but it's not actually 251 yet. So I got to keep going, but still it looks like 243. Cool. Thank you, whoever came by. It looks like I'm getting 250 in record time. So that's cool. Anyway, so yeah, the topic tonight has been Patreon, and getting started with it, getting a better understanding to get started with it. And if there are people here who have experience either as subscribers or creatives, let me know in the comments if you're here on Haps, and I will bring you in on the chat. And I'd love to hear what your experience is. I'd love to ask you some questions. And I also had Natasha Young on here earlier who, like myself, 248. Wow, I just need 2 more folks. I've made the Haps challenge for this week. That would be great. Anyway. So yeah, it's just a matter of getting a better understanding of oh, that's weird. Okay, that is plenty weird. Oh, okay. I guess I didn't have that person's handle quite right. So yeah, it's been a matter of looks like I got my 252. So I've made my Haps challenge for this week. Thank you, folks. Thank you. Excuse me again. Do need that water. Anyway, I think that is like this. I'm making a quick note. Dang it, that didn't work. So let's see. Quick note. So yeah, like I said, it's just a matter of, whoops, that doesn't work either. It's a matter of trying to get a better understanding of Patreon before starting Patreon. And like I said, well, I don't actually need to tag people now saying help my 250, but Cami Ray came by. I'm sure that she helped me with my 250 there. So I've made my Haps challenge for this week. Cami, so what I've been doing, 256. I know, it's like high five time, right? So what I've been doing is talking about Patreon tonight. And I've made my Haps challenge here with a new record time of 2 hours and 18 minutes, actually less than that, but thank you. Anyway, so Patreon, I'm thinking of starting a profile and doing things with my recipes, doing things with being an author, writing recipe books, doing videos, instructing how to cook and bake and working out recipes, and having my recipes for my upcoming books available in advance to the people that subscribe. And as I've been saying, I've only been able to get so much information from the website that basically has an inside and an outside, and it gives you enough to kind of get hungry on the outside, but not enough to get confident, or maybe that's one way of putting it. So by the way, Cami, if you have experience with Patreon, either as a subscriber, as a creative, or if you're looking to start Patreon yourself as a creative and you have questions, I also find that valuable, and let me know and I will bring you in and we will keep on chatting about this topic. Burnt Dice, who is on YouTube, he says, hi, first time viewer. Well, thank you, Burnt Dice. One of the other things that I do is I am Bagpiper Don. And to that end, it's not just a name. I've been playing Highland bagpipes since 1988. And I don't remember when I started with my Scottish small pipes, but I do broadcasts right now Mondays and Fridays. Monday is 7 p.m. Pacific time. Friday is 1 p.m. Pacific time. And I'm usually on anywhere from about 90 minutes to 120 minutes. And I play Scottish music on my small pipes and entertain people and give folks a little bit of a break from just the quarantine stuff and all that different stress, all that garbage, all that weirdness. So, but to that end, I particularly with quarantine, I'm not able to support myself off my music. I came close to paying rent once ever on my music. That was, or at least to say, through regular gigs, I have actually paid my bills before. I'm in Washington, Burnt Dice. I have, if you've got a location that's being reported on YouTube, I know Haps reports YouTube. I'm actually broadcasting from Haps TV. If it's giving you a location of like Utah or Idaho, I don't know why, but Haps likes to change where I'm at. So sounds like PA. I don't know. Not sure what that is. Anyway. So yeah, I don't make enough money off of writing books. I don't make enough money off of playing music. I don't make enough money off of my seasonal work as a professional scuba diver, but I do make some, which is better than none. anyway, I've been thinking of starting a Patreon profile, kind of double dipping. Do I like it in Washington? I hope so. I've only spent like close to 5 decades here. Yeah, you're talking to a Washington native there, Burnt Dice. So yeah, do I like it in Washington? Yes, this is home. Anyway, so yeah, I've thought about starting a Patreon profile, and it helped earlier when Christina came in and said make something available that is not available elsewhere. And yeah, sure, if I'm going to give people access to my recipes that will later on be in my recipe books, excuse me, will they be available elsewhere later? Yes. Will people be willing to wait that long? Well, maybe. And that's maybe some of the area that I have to go in and start doing this and find out. I'll answer that question in a moment there, Burnt Dice. Anyway, maybe I need to go into Patreon, and this is the part of the things that I need to do and find out. But as a friend of mine suggested, he knows that this year I'm trying to finish writing and publish 2 recipe books, and the idea is that his suggestion was that I could give 1 to 2 recipes a month depending on the subscription tier level, and essentially people would be getting my recipes. If they're foodie cook type people, then they'd be getting my recipes in advance of when the book's publish. And in some cases, what's great is the people that support you, they'll take the stuff in advance, and then once your book publishes, they buy that too. So that'd be curious to see. So that's where I'm looking to get into Patreon and see if that makes some money for me, because hey, it's work I'm already doing. So if I could make some money now, make some money later, get people that like what I'm doing and want to help support what I'm help support me while I'm doing it, is really what it comes down to, and they get something for it too. So that's what I'm thinking of. So if there's people that are here on HAPS that have experience as subscribers, as creatives, or like myself are looking to start a Patreon profile, let me know in the comments and I will bring you into the chat and we'll talk about that. So Burnt Dice, you asked, does it rain here all the time like people say? Well, to a Western Washington, born, bred, brewed native, former Seattle native, the answer would be yes. And we say that so people don't move here. The truth of the matter is, no, it doesn't rain all the time. In fact, it rains like more in Los Angeles or something like that. We do tend to have kind of an overcast sort of thing much of the time, not all of the time. Also in Washington, the thing is like pretty much every environmental type. We have beaches, we have deserts, we have high mountains, we have, obviously we're going from mountains as high as 14,411 feet all the way down to sea level. We have rainforests, we have everything here. So does it rain all the time? Yes, it rains all the time. And we say that so people don't come here. Because we like our own little quiet slice of heaven. And to answer your question, you write cookbooks. I suck at cooking, but my wife is great. Well, here's the thing, man. And let me grab this again. Yes, I started writing and publishing recipe books in 2018. My first book was October 2018. And I'm about to post a link. I don't know that this will show on YouTube where you're watching from there. But I have a free ebook, and it's 2 recipes from my 2018 release, and that you can find on Amazon and pretty much everywhere. And it's called Let's Bake Cookie Squares and Biscotti. Let's Bake Cookie Squares and Biscotti. It is for free. And that is 2 recipes directly out of my book that published in 2018. I published this free one back in December, and in November, I published a book called The Patriotic Piper. Sorry, I had to scramble and come downstairs where there was better net signal. My books and everything are upstairs, so I can't show you examples. You'll have to go to Amazon and stuff to take a look. Excuse me. Anyway, please wait for link preview to load. Got it. Okay, so yeah, if you grab that Let's Bake Cookie Squares and Biscotti, you'll get 2 recipes that are directly out of Bake Your Own Darn Good Cookies, which was my first book. The Patriotic Piper, that is 20 Scottish American military and patriotic traditional tunes and the tune histories. And then I also have 15 Scottish and Irish recipes in there with food trivia. So yeah, I've essentially I have 2, call it 3, however you want to call it, recipe books. And I am working on publishing 2 this year. So hey, if you want to grab your wife a couple of free baking recipes, 2 recipes, go look up Let's Bake Cookie Squares and Biscotti, and you'll find that everywhere. I mean, it's on Amazon, it's on Smashwords, Barnes and Noble, Kobo, Apple, it's everywhere. All of my books are available in ebook form, and I have them set up so they are in that same everywhere thing. And that actually happens through, well, in this case, that happens because of being on Amazon and on Smashwords. So let's see. And if you like that book, hey, I mean, the whole book, the Bake Your Own Darn Good Cookies, is like $20. So anyway, maybe your wife would dig that. So Good Looking Honky, nice screen name. Martin, hi. Peter North here, old adult film star, fantastic. Great stream tonight. Thank you, Peter. Okay. I don't know where Martin is, but okay, Peter North. Anyway, Burnt Dice says, okay, I don't want to move there because of the terrible politic. Yeah. Okay, we get our terrible politics because a lot of it moved from California, in my opinion. Tell you something, South Carolina would give Seattle, Washington a run for its money on rating. Yeah, then see, that's the thing. A lot of other places can. It rains constantly for the last 8 years. Yeah, I get it. The thing too is, like, a lot of people don't. It's kind of funny. You travel other places and they say, "Where are you from?" And you say, "Washington State." And they're like, "Oh, Seattle's great." Somehow they think like Washington and Seattle are one and the same thing. And yes, Seattle is in Washington, obviously, but Seattle is not all of Washington. So, dog walker guy who is in Australia has swung by. He says, "Bagpiper Don, good day, my friend." Well, good day to you too, Mr. Dog Walker guy. So I am probably going to wrap this up because plenty of you have heard me cough a little bit. I'm totally dry at this point because I've been going for 2.5 hours, but I will include here saying that I am doing this broadcast from a website called Happs TV. That's HAPPS.TV. And one of the things that it allows you to do is bounce your broadcast to other locations. And tonight, the only location that I am broadcasting to in addition to Happs is YouTube, but usually I also do Facebook and Twitter. Burnt Dice says, "I'm from the East Coast, and the only thing," I'm not sure what the rest of that sentence is. "Oh, I know from Washington, Seattle is from the grunge area." Yeah, that was a fun time. I was here. Of course, like I said, born, bred, brewed. I've been here for all of it. Anyway, yeah, I've gotten to do the East Coast a little bit, not loads, but it's mostly like Florida, Virginia briefly, Washington, D.C. a couple of times, New York for about like 5 or 9 days or something. Being a born, bred, brewed Washingtonian, where, I grew up hiking, and, my second skin was a nylon coat, or that sort of thing. Going to New York was like, whoa. That was not my gig, man. Anyway. So yeah, Happs TV. Happs allows you to shoot your broadcast to other locations. Excuse me, I need that water. And one of the things going on with Happs right now, Happs allows people who are on Happs to give tips to people that are broadcasting. And I've received one tonight, which that's very nice. I appreciate it. I was, my payoff tonight has been getting some responses about using Patreon, being a creative on Patreon and selling stuff essentially, and then also coming from the standpoint of being a subscriber on Patreon. Thank you, Burnt Dice. By the way, one of the things that I've been thinking of going into is audiobook narration. So who knows? Anyway, and usually I'm thinking about enough things. I'm sitting there going, I've really been trying to get that out of my dialect. But so yeah, Haps allows you to shoot video to the other locations. Haps allows people to give people tips while they're doing a broadcast. Haps right now, to promote the website, one of the things that they're doing is what's called the Haps hashtag challenge. And you'll see that in the title of this broadcast, which is chat, help me start Patreon, hashtag Haps challenge. And the thing with that, where I've been talking about 250, this magic 250 number, the thing with that is you, for 8 weeks in a row, and this will now be, I think, 3 as of today, you have to broadcast. You have to do a broadcast that is at least 10 minutes long, has Haps challenge hashtag in the title. You have to get at least 250 viewers during that broadcast, not collectively during the week. You have to get it during that broadcast. If you do that for 8 weeks in a row, then Haps gives you gives me $50, which $50, as I've gone to say earlier, is $50 all that much money? No, but usually what I'm doing with my broadcasts is I'm playing my Scottish small pipes, and I do those broadcasts 7 p.m. Monday Pacific time, 1 p.m. Friday Pacific time. And I figure if I'm already doing broadcasts, why not try and make $50 off of that, in 8 weeks time, which is also, it's not much money per broadcast, but $50 still is $50. $50 buys a new set of reeds for my Scottish small pipes, or $50 goes toward they're called Fred Morrison reel pipes, which is another type of small pipe. I've been dreaming of getting my hands on a set of those since 2009. And right now I'm also teaching online lessons to a fantastic young man, junior in high school, who is in Minnesota, and using all of the tuition money to go toward that set of pipes. So it's getting there. The pipes that I'm looking for, they're somewhere in the neighborhood of about $2,100 to $2,300, and it's not something that I've exactly had the extra financial comfort to do. But when I'm able to look at it and say I've got just enough financial comfort that money I can go ahead and allocate toward these other sets of pipes, then I will do that. So that's cool. So Dog Walker Guy goes to add bagpipe Don. I'll give you $50 not to play the bagpipe singing. Oh, come on, man. I won't do that for less than $250 for 4 hours at a time. Because that's my minimum amount to go and perform for 4 hours time. $50 in perpetuity throughout the universe. No, that won't do it. That will not do it. Oh, geez. Come on, Dog Walker. I know that Australia has loads of bagpipers. So I appreciate the tease there, mate. Anyway, so yeah, $50 as $50 goes, does help keeping the instrument going. In fact, there was a time where I decided to keep track of the amount of money that I made in a year versus the amount of money that I spent, all having to do with piping. So the amount of money I spent on piping, the amount of money I made on piping, and I think it came out to, I spent $3,000, I earned $1,000. And I'm sure I've never earned more money than what I've made. Excuse me, I'm sure I've never made more money than what I've spent in a year on piping. So there's a saying that if you get a boat, the definition of a boat is a hole in the water that you throw money into. Well, welcome to Highland Bagpipes. But why do you have that boat? Because you enjoy it. So why does somebody play Highland Bagpipes? Because they enjoy it. Maybe Dog Walker Guy doesn't. Get my own tease back at him. But yeah. anyway. So yeah, as for the HAPS challenge that I was talking about 15, 20 minutes ago, I got my 250 plus viewers, and it's been great that 285 have come by. It's been great that Christina came by earlier to talk about her experience as a creative, essentially a seller on Patreon. And then I also happened to get lucky with Natasha Young coming on here, who is looking like myself to start a Patreon profile. And she had questions like I do. She had questions different than mine. I was also able to answer a few of her questions coming from the answers that I've already received, which has been rather nice. So anyway, I didn't know that I was going to get my HAPS challenge satisfied for this week with this broadcast, but that's nice, because now when I go and do my Monday and my Friday broadcast playing small pipes, I don't have to sit there and say, please share the broadcast, invite your friends. I need 250 some odd viewers. So that's cool. That's great. And in fact, I've got 285. I don't know that I've ever had 285 for any of this HAPS stuff yet. So that's groovy. So anyway, I'm going to call this quits. Excuse me. Wow. I'm going to go get that water, and I think I'm going to make, thank you, dog walker guy. He says, you're doing awesome, mate. Going to get some water. I'm also going to get some cookies that I made last night, which are actually ones that it's a recipe I'm designing for the Christmas cookie recipe book that I aim to put out late this year. And that one, I will just tell you, it is a combination between chocolate, ginger, coffee, and rum extract. And they're good. They are good. So, hey, dog walker guy, thank you there for the high award. I do appreciate that. And that's for those of you that aren't familiar with HAPS. That's where I was saying that people can give folks tips on HAPS while they're doing a broadcast. And dog walker guy just gave me what's called a high award, and I appreciate that. Anyway, because I've also gone to say that the money that I make on HAPS doing the broadcasts, hey, once it ends up being something, that's money that I'm going to put toward those bagpipes that I want. So anyway, there's only 2 more types of bagpipes that I want for now. So anyway, gonna call it quits. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully this has helped some other folks with their Patreon questions. And if you have any further questions, thoughts, answers, insights, wisdoms, limericks, whatever, leave them in the comments and I will check those out later. And yeah, okay. Have